I was making my reel and I was looking at pictures from July of 2020. It's a picture of Mark and I at my sister's wedding, and we looked beautiful. I was so tan. Mark was so tan and all his gold chains on. I was looking at my eyes, and I just thought, like, she's so empty inside.
All right, welcome back. Life in Abundance. We are at it again. I don't even know what episode we're on anymore, but 23, we're just rocking it. And man, we had a good weekend. We went out of town. That's one of our yearly impossible goals, is to get out of town one night a month at least, by ourselves, with none of our 3 kids, 3 little minions. And we've been doing it now. I think we've done it since October, right? Went to Vegas. We've been to Council.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've done. Yeah, then we went to Table Mountain.
Oh, yeah. That was a fun date night.
So that's one of our things that we've been doing that has been really fun, actually, because we went about 8 months, 10 months without going out of town, just by ourselves. And we realized that we needed to do that. We have, our youngest is about 15 months. No, 3 months?
She's almost 2.
Almost 2, yeah. And I think the whole month thing's kind of dumb anyways. Like, just say 2 or 1. Like, she's 1.
She's 38
She's late
months.
ones, I guess you would say. Right? Because, like, when you're 24 and you're almost 25, you don't say 25. You're like, I'm 24. Right? So, but... yeah, we're doing that, and we went to San Francisco, and we hadn't been there in a long time, probably 5-6 years, and had a great time. Went to a comedy show with Bert Kirshner, I believe his name is. Kreischer, the Machine, yes. Really, really funny, and 2 other guys at the Chase Center. It's kind of cool going to those things now because we have a podcast, so we speak, and we have all this coaching stuff that we're learning how to capture an audience, so it's really cool to go there. And, I mean, the place was packed. Probably there had to be 10, 15,000 people.
Yeah,
probably.
I don't know how big the Chase Center is, but it is.
Yeah.
It was a packed house.
And so it was just kind of cool how he moved the room, how he paused, how he stopped, and it was really entertaining, really funny. So if you have the chance to go see him, I would definitely go see him. We're not getting paid by him on this podcast yet, trust me. No, yeah, it was a good time, and that's one thing. If that is not on your couple's to-do list monthly, is to get out of town one night a month. That's something that I would do with your spouse, and that is a non-negotiable.
Yeah, we even did there's a casino, I don't know, 15 minutes away, and we went up there for the night, and we were home with like donuts by the morning, like for breakfast for our kids. So it was important for us to do that and just get dressed up, go to dinner, and date your wife, date your man. And I think that was a long time. We did it to check the box. We didn't do it because we really cared all that much about it. And that led to a lot of disconnection in our life and in our marriage. And now getting to do that again it feels good. It makes me feel good to get dressed up for Mark and put on my fancy high heels, and I don't wear those to work. So it's just something different, and I do it for me too. So I think it's so important. But I would have to say San Francisco is not at all what it used to be. And we talked about this a lot actually while we were there. We haven't been in over 5 years. I know for myself, it had been at least 5 years. And I went with these expectations of it's going to be filthy and homeless people everywhere, because that's what I remember it. And to be honest with you, it was a lot cleaner than I remember. I did not see as many homeless people, but the people I did see kind of laying in the streets, unfortunately, just they were gone. Their mind was not there. It was really heartbreaking. And I remember walking by, there was a guy pushing like a walker that had a basket in it, and he's all hunched over, and just you could see his hands were so swollen in that, and it's just full of aerosol cans. And you just look over like, God, why? What is happening? That was heartbreaking to me. And we were on our way to have a 5-star dinner, and you're just thinking like how different our lives are standing on the same street corner, and just, it was sad to me. But anyways, I saw that city from a different light, honestly. And what Mark and I used to do is go there after Christmas, the day after Christmas on the 26th, and we would go shopping together. we wouldn't buy each other gifts really for Christmas, and we would just spend the day with the night and good dinner and shop around and drive home afterwards. And that was what we did for Christmas, was created these experiences with each other. And we stopped doing that maybe, I don't know, a couple years back. And it was nice to go and we didn't have any plans other than going to the comedy show and just scoping out the city. And we had a great time. We walked a lot and talked a lot, and it was good. Good way to reconnect. And sometimes going out of town, I feel like the anticipation of leaving is kind of fun. For me, it's a little stressful trying to plan for my kids and then pack and do all the things like every mama does. But also the drive there, just holding hands and connecting and talking. And to be honest with you, we were working a lot of the drive there, rewriting Mark's copy for his website and doing some things like that. But just to be together and have uninterrupted conversations, it was super powerful. And I honestly needed that more than even going out of town. I just needed protected time with you.
Yeah, that's something that we missed for a long time. And it's so important because for those of you who do have kids, not that it's a bad thing, but they take up so much time, and it's a whole different vibe when you go out of town, like the way you pack, the way you, like, it was funny. We got in the elevator and it's like we had a couple bags and that was about it. Whereas our last time out of town, we went a couple weeks ago, we went for our council, and then my daughter had a cheer competition, and we packed our whole Suburban up, and we had about 45 blankets and pillows and
2
Barbies.
bell carts. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it's a whole, I mean, like by the time I get in the room, I'm pissed because I made 9 trips. And then the kids of course, they forget one water bottle,
It's like my sippy cup in the back seat, my favorite one.
But
it's terrible.
Yeah, so today, it's kind of funny what Bree's talking about in San Francisco, when you're seeing those people that are like, they're alive, but they're dead, right? Like they're alive and no one's home because of drugs or trauma or whatever. And a lot of times we're the same way. Bree and I have been the same way. I was that way for a long time. I was alive, but dead inside. And when you start looking at your facts of your life rather than the feelings of your life, it's a very painful situation. It's a very painful time. And Bree and I have been doing a lot of discovery in the last 6 months and gutting of ourselves. And a lot of times it's like when you go to the gym and you haven't gone to the gym for a long, long time, or you've never been in the gym, you start and a couple month in, you're like, dude, this isn't working. This is dumb. I'm going to stop doing this, but you know it's good for you. And that's where Bree and I are at in our marriage, with keep digging up these things and we keep getting better. And in our business especially, we're both coming from businesses that were established, and we're going into this coaching thing, and we keep like dying every week to our old self. And it's so much easier to go back and comfort to what we used to know, but we know that's not what we're called for, right? My big thing this year is to choose peace and freedom rather than happiness, because happiness typically for me is short-lived. And then freedom and peace give me long-term freedom and peace. I didn't say that right, did I? But
we know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, short-term happiness is like what I used to do. It's like drinking alcohol every day, not going to the gym every day, waking up at different times, sleeping in. Those kind of things gave me happiness short-term. Long-term peace is waking up at the same time every day, doing my daily things that I have to do for me, is stacking, going to the gym, and just being completely truthful with me, and knowing that what I'm doing is adding value to my life. So that's what is, but it's really hard to do. And now I know why most people stay in the same situation they've always been in, and they don't change. They don't move their homes. They don't get divorced. They stay married. They stay in the same job, whatever it might be. I know why. It's hard. It's not fun.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've been on this emotional roller coaster. I've already cried 3 times today, so I'm probably going to cry again. But it's a choice, and you have to recognize that with that choice, there are so many sacrifices, and not just for you, but the people you love. But the difference between this choice and the choice of being the businesswoman that I used to be is this does bring you freedom and peace. And the pursuit of my career before was a drive for a number, a drive for a total, a drive for a measurable success in a dollar value, in wealth. And it didn't matter how close I got to the number, I still felt this emptiness inside. And you know, the women that I coach, they experience success at a high level and they feel that emptiness. It was funny. This is kind of stupid, but I was making my reel for the day. It's part of what we do every day. We do a live and a post, and I was making my reel and I was looking at pictures from July of 2020. It's a picture of Mark and I at my sister's wedding, and we looked beautiful. I was so tan. Mark was so tan and all his gold chains on. I was looking at my eyes, and I just thought, like, she's so empty inside. I literally started crying on a coaching call looking at my eyes. And you can't really see through my eyes because they're almost black. But as Mark's behind me and kind of like kissing on my cheek in the photo, I just thought, like, so much of that was for show. We wanted to be so connected, and we were so disconnected in life. And part of that was because I was pursuing this career. And I knew that people around me would experience sacrificing me, my presence, my attention, even my commitment, so I could pursue that career. And they stood by me to chase that success, all for me to get so close to my number to recognize that's not what God's called me to do. And how easy it was for me to step away because I knew what I wanted was that. I wanted to pursue my calling and to serve people at the level that God called me to do. And the number correlated with that is so different than the one that I was chasing in my career path at the time. But the emptiness that I saw in the girl in the photo and how I got there, it's like I don't even recognize her. This is stupid too, but one of my impossible games for this year is I want to get a facelift. I know that sounds so crazy, but I feel like the years of 2020, 2021, I aged so much. And maybe not to you or any of you, but to me, I don't feel like I should feel. I should feel. As weird as that sounds, but I feel like so much of the life was sucked out of me at that time in my life that it aged me a lot. And so now I'm in a place where I'm like, I have so much regret from that. When I look back at those pictures at that girl, I'm so mad at her that it took her so long to wake up. Because her babies were growing right before her eyes and she was missing it. She could have been so much further in her career if she would have just aligned with her husband. Instead, I took my focus off of that. I took my focus off of what God wanted, and I chased and pursued the happiness, if you will, that was so short term. And it ultimately ended up robbing me of years of my life. And it sucked. One of the biggest fights Mark and I ever got into in our life was at my sister's wedding. I got all dressed up, speaking of date night. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a big deal to everybody. It's, you know, there's only 20 people coming, but it was going to be to the nines. I don't know, maybe there were 40 people. I don't know how many were there. But my parents rented the most beautiful villa for all of us to stay in, and just, we don't do that much. So it was a treat for us to do that and all be together. We're all getting dressed up. My sister's sending us ahead of time all the dresses that she wants us to wear, bright colors, everybody be within the theme, and so excited for this. So I get the two babies, their bright hot pink dresses that match my hot pink fuchsia dress, and Mark comes downstairs in jeans. And I just looked at him like I wanted him dead. And the truth is, I did want him dead. It's just like, it'd be so much easier to do this life without you.
Well, it wasn't the fact it was genes.
But there was a lot leading up to the genes. But genes were the hill he was going to die on that night. So here we are. Everybody's dressed up in their suits. My dad, I think, rented a tux or two. And here's Mark in his freaking jeans.
I did look good, though.
You did. You look like a fox in this photo. You were dead inside, but you were sexy as hell.
I think she's being sarcastic.
So my point was that fight blew up into so much more. I started scrolling through my phone, and I'm just looking at my eyes and looking at our photos, and we had such a beautiful life. We were living all the things, doing all the things in Newport Beach, living it up. And how much was missing for us was the soul inside. And it went on maybe a couple more months, and we started to figure some things out. We were figuring out that pursuing that, there was nothing of substance in that life. Sure, it was happy and fun at the time, but what I wanted was something more, and I wanted Mark to want that too. And so that's when we had a hard conversation of either rise or bye. And I was standing firm on that because I was sick of chasing that dream that was leading me nowhere. The success in the career was great. Do not get me wrong. There was happiness in that. But long term, I could feel myself dying. I could see in the mirror that I was aging so fast. So now, where I'm at right now is choosing to do something totally different. And I told Mark walked in the house right now and I was crying. He's just like, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, it's already been a long day and it's only like noon." But the truth is, because I'm choosing this pain. But when I looked in the eyes of the girl in the photo, she was choosing suffering.
Yeah, it's funny not funny, but that night that she's talking about, I remember before I came downstairs, I was in the shower and I was drunk. And I remember putting my head against the tile wall and then the water was beating down my neck. And I'm like, I'm talking to God, right? As we all do when we're drunk and want to sober up. And I was just like, "God, like, what am I doing? Like, take this away from me." And the most messed up part about all this is I got out of the shower, got dressed in my jeans and my button up, which everyone was wearing like sports coats and slacks and stuff. And I grabbed a cocktail and I went back downstairs and there's a picture of me coming down the stairs and have the cocktail and I got my gold chain popping out with my hand and I'm smiling, right? And got my glasses on inside and like everything's great. And I remember that same night laying in bed, and I had the sweats because I've been drinking for like 4 days because it was like during COVID, right? And you had nothing to do, so just everyone's drinking. And I remember just sitting there next to my daughter. She was in the bed with me, and I'm just sweating, and I have anxiety. And I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And then here's the craziest part about that is, I woke up next morning, went and crushed a Peloton workout, which no one else was even doing because they couldn't move. And then my brother-in-law, my older one's like, he's like, "Does anybody else wake up with sweats at night because they've been drinking a little bit too much?" I'm like, "Yeah, kind of." I make fun of it. So yeah, it's me. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is kind of messed up. Like, and I was dead inside. And I was so wanting what the flesh wanted. I was wanting what the world promised, right? You drink, you have a good time. You have good stories, all these things. And my marriage was probably at the lowest point it was at. I just had my second child at the time, or we had our second child. And it was not a good spot to be in. And if you look from the outside, everything looked good. Like Bree said, like if you look at our picture and my wife just had a baby, she was looking hot. I have my oldest daughter's gorgeous. And it was like what you should have had. or what everyone thought it was. And it was funny because Bree went on this mission to have a big, big business and career, and I went the exact opposite way. I fell into comfort. I fell into, let's see how Mark can be happy and not be happy in the spirit, but be happy in the flesh. Mm-hmm. And we were going the opposite directions. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of weird. We had a rope around each other's like waist. And when I try to go one way, I'd pull her. She'd go one way, she'd pull me. And it was just a constant battle. Mm-hmm. And my wife got exhausted with it because she was pulling me a lot of times. She was pulling me to be better. She was pulling me to clean up my life. She was pulling me to like just want more. And I'm like, I do want more. I want more alcohol. I want more hanging out. I want more like things that I want to do. Mm-hmm. And it just took a point where she was like, I'm done. And that's what I know woke me up. And I say this was a time in my life where I was kind of blindsided, because if you look at from outside, like we look like we had it all, but on the inside, I knew it was coming. I knew my wife was either going to leave me or cheat on me with how I was acting.
I'd never cheat on you.
Well, but either those two things would have happened.
You'd be dead before that.
Yeah, I'd be dead before that. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, I mean, it was, and to come to that realization and then have to own it. And then look at what you really wanted, the facts of your life. I remember when I first hired my first coach, Garrett, and one of the questions in our homework was, how much money has your emotions cost you in business, or your feelings? And no one has ever asked me that question, because I'm self-employed. Like, I don't have a boss. Like, the boss is my wife, but like whatever. And I remember sitting down, there's a park up the street, and I remember sitting there and I had my little book out, and I go, well, I've owned a business for 15 years. We had a salon, we've had 2 clothing stores, my training business, we sold furniture, we did a little bit of everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, like my feelings have cost me millions of dollars that I can never get back. And it was a weird place to be in, because you're like, you caused this, Mark. Not Bree, not your employees, not the weather, not COVID, whatever it is, but you caused this. And it took me, like, I still struggle with it, because I have a lot of guilt and shame from the past of what I didn't do and what I did do. And so for me to look at that and know that I have maybe cost my family millions and millions of dollars because of my insecurities of not showing up how I should, it's a shitty place to be in. And then have your wife be a producer, go out and kill every day and pick up the sword and pick up the shield and go. And you just kind of sit back and letting her, because you're kind of doing it, because you're not feeling it, because you don't know what to do. It's BS. And it's taken me a couple years to like dig into it and figure it out. And I still struggle, and I still, like, is this worth it? Are we doing the right thing? And, but I have a different mindset. I have a different calling. I'm not doing this. I used to be so worried about what other people thought, what other people wanted. And now I'm not doing this for any other reason, but that I want it. Mm-hmm. And that when I want it, when I know what I want, it makes me and my wife better. It makes me a better dad. Mm-hmm. And in the whole scheme of things, that's what it's all about. And if I would have shown up like this in 2020, it would have been a whole different ballgame.
I think the difference is, too, becoming aware of God's voice and the power and fear even of God or in God. You react differently. Before, you could hear God's voice and you ignore it until you realize the pain of when you don't act when you hear God's voice, and the consequence is far greater pain. So now being in tune with that and actually committed to that, of like just crazy things. When Mark is driving, even God tells him, hey, call this person. It's like, what? Why would I call this person? usually really good things come of it. It's just choosing to hear, listen, be obedient. It's a very different place than I say you've ever been in our marriage.
So one of the crazy stories about that, the voice in your head, you can say the Holy Spirit, you can say God, whatever you think it is.
The universe.
Yeah, the universe. So since I was 19 years old, that's when I had my first sip of alcohol. When I was 19, I had a Bud Light with my two buddies on the baseball team. And I hadn't drank for a couple years, well, all through high school. And then I remember having a first drink. And I had a first sip of beer. And I heard a voice in my head saying, don't do that. That's kind of weird. And so I took another sip and it said, don't do that. And I said, well, kind of really weird. So I kept doing it. And then every time I had a sip of alcohol until about a year ago, I heard that voice. Don't do it. And then when I was at that point where I was like, enough, I heard another voice saying, you're done. Like, that's weird. And I'd bypass it. And then I had guilt, shame, and all that at night and in the morning time. And so about a year ago, my wife heard from God, like, you need to stop drinking.
It was like 8 months ago.
Yeah, 8 months ago. And so I come in one day and she's taking a shower and I said, what's going on? And I could tell she was a little bit shaken. And she goes, I feel like God wants me to stop drinking. I said, I'm in, let's do it. And so I stopped drinking. And for about 5-6 months.
No, like 3.
No, longer than that.
No.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't think so.
Whatever. I think
it doesn't matter.
We'll do 4 to 6 months. And so in that 4 to 6 months, didn't drink, and we had a breakthrough where I was going to coaching, and God was like really moving in my life. I'd been doing all these things to get me better, and the one thing I couldn't kick was drinking. I love doing it. I love having a drink. I love hanging out with the guys, having drinks. I love coming home, having a drink with Bree. Like, I just enjoy it. And I couldn't give it up. And so I stuttered my whole life, my whole entire life. And when I was on stage in July, so we had stopped drinking for a couple months there, and I started talking, and I was telling everyone that I was nervous because I stutter and to talk to people and go on camera and speak. And my coach at the end goes, hey, do you know that your weaknesses become your strengths when you're in the calling? And I was like, I couldn't hear him at the time because I was like so nervous on stage. Then a couple months later, we have our first drink on the patio. We have a glass of wine. And it was the first time I had never heard the voice in my head saying, don't do that. And I'm proud to say that I haven't woken up with a hangover or a stinger in probably 8 months to a year. And it's just because I'm listening to the God or the voice to say, do that, don't do that. And the stuttering has pretty much gone away, which is pretty crazy to think about. I stutter every once in a while, but it's like
few and
far between.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, but it was like almost like God was saying, hey man, like, I need to get your attention. Can you just stop doing something for a couple minutes? Like, I got bigger plans for you than just sipping on a, drink at night. Like, let's focus up.
Dial it in.
And so, yeah, man, it was, it's been pretty cool to see, but it's, you have to have the awareness and be still enough and be in the right mind frame to hear that voice and to listen. Cause I heard it for a long, long time, but I wasn't in the pit. It didn't take me to my knees to where I had to listen. And finally it took me far enough to where I had to listen. Mm-hmm. And it was almost my marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing what God uses in your life to shake you and wake you. And I really believe that was my calling, was at the time to wake Mark up, because we were going down a path that was leading to divorce. There was no denying that. And in order for him to pay attention, I just basically said that I am out if you can't figure this out. And you're invited to come with me, but you're not coming like that. And together we could create a path forward when we both wanted the same thing. But there was a lot of times where we sat there like laying in bed together and feeling so far apart because I had no clue where he was. He could tell me he was here or there, but he didn't know. So it was all just words. And there was not much integrity behind them because he wasn't doing what he said he would do. And we've talked about that on previous episodes, that when your words don't hold any weight, they're just words. That's not what I was looking for from a husband and somebody stable and substantial in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different, when you show up knowing what you want and doing the work, your relationship is completely different. It's 180. When you lay in bed and you look at that person next to you, it's a different look, a different feeling, and you're able to communicate things differently. And that's one thing that I'm learning that I was not good at for a long, long time, and I'm still getting better at, is communicating exactly what I want. Because I used to not do it because I wasn't coming from a good place, because I wasn't doing what I should be doing. So I was like almost like guilty, like, hey, you know, like if you're a kid and you sold like a cookie out of a cookie jar and your parents ask you and you're like, yeah, maybe, I don't know, right? And it's like Bree would ask me certain things and I couldn't answer her truthfully. And now I can. And so then we can have conversations where, hey, babe, I want this. Hey, babe, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And be okay with like her not liking it. Yeah. Because for so long, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. So I wanted just to make her happy. And when she wasn't happy, I'd be like, did I do something wrong? You know what I'm saying? Is it me? And in reality, it's like, no, we just have bad days and we're off. And like today, she was not feeling it. So I went in, gave her a hug. Hey, you good? Yeah. You're like, I'm okay. Cool. And then Bree will talk to me when she wants to. And I have to be okay with that, just like she does that to me. And when you're in that place where you're doing everything that you need to be doing, you can let your wife, you can let your husband kind of deal with what he needs to, and they'll talk when they need to.
Yeah, when before Mark would blow up and be like, well, I want to talk about this now, and I have to walk in and do like a transformation extension appointment for 4 hours and not be able to talk and be upset the whole time I do it. There were no boundaries there. And for me, I can't actually talk about what I'm going through right now because I'm an emotional wreck and I have to do this. And Mark could not respect that space. And now we're in a place where he can hear me and not feel insecure. Was it something I did? Because he's living in certainty that he's doing what he should be doing. Where before there was this uncertainty and just an unsettling feeling until we talked. And that still exists. Like you're anxious to talk to your person when you know they're upset. But he knows it's not something he's doing. It's what I'm going through is what I'm going through, and he can meet me there. So overall, what it comes down to is learning to communicate, but that also being held accountable for your stuff. Mm-hmm. Mark is the best check for me. Before, he's the last person that I'd want to hear what I was doing right or wrong from. And same with me. I was the last person he wanted to come at him. But usually because those people knew like your deepest and darkest pain. Those were the people that were going to expose you. And so when we became in a place where we could be open and honest, there was nothing to hide. It's like, expose me. I already told you that. You already know all that. Come at me with something else. And when there's nothing, because you've been able to say what you need to say, sometimes not even what you want to say, but what you need to say, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we've gutted ourselves, and there's nothing that's off limits. Like, that's our big thing with coaching program is like, stop lying to yourself. Mm-hmm. And probably the hardest conversation my wife and I had ever have. And it was, I was looking at porn and I had the most guilt, man. Every time I look at it, I would get done. I'd have so much guilt. And I remember laying in bed one night and I'm doing this class. I'm kind of doing a half-ass, but the whole thing is stop lying and be truthful. And I'm laying in bed. It's like a Friday night. I think I'm like 4 or 5 drinks deep, and I'm laying there, and I'm like, I heard the voice say, "Tell her." I'm like, I really don't want to tell her. This is not gonna go how I want it. Like, I could maybe get a little fun time tonight if I play my cards right, but I don't. If I do that, I'm definitely not gonna get any fun time. I hear the voice say it. I said, I don't really want to say this right now. And so I lean over and I said, I look at porn. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah, I look at porn. And I remember her to start crying. And I remember telling her, I shouldn't have said that. I go, this stupid class is making you tell the truth. That's what I literally said laying in bed.
It's their fault.
I said it's their fault. Like I was like pissed that I paid $10,000 for people to tell me to tell the truth. Like, but it was one of those things where now looking back, it was so freeing because I have nothing to hide. Like I've had the conversation with my wife that, hey, this is either she's going to leave me, she's going to hate me, she's going to do those things, but I had them because I was truthful with myself, and I have to be completely vulnerable and honest with the most special person in my life, which is my wife. And so because that gives you full openness to where you're like, hey, there's nothing for me to hide. And have I messed up? 140%. Is there things I could fix? Of course. But hey, I'm truthful. And if you want to know where I'm at, ask me and I will tell you. Mm-hmm. And you don't find many couples like that because they're always like, oh, well, I don't tell them about that. I don't say anything about that. They don't know where that actually money's at. They don't know this. They don't know that. And it's like, well, you guys are married, right? Like the two become one. Like you should probably just tell your spouse.
But we get why you don't, because we lived that way for 15 years.
Yes, because it's easier.
Yeah, heck yeah.
It's hard to admit you're wrong or admit you did something. It's hard to
face the person that you love the most.
Yeah, because you realize you messed up and you have to own it. And then a lot of times you've hurt a lot of people along the way with that. Mm-hmm. And so I've had to do like an apology tour where, dude, I am like, it's like, hey, did I ever offend you?
Knocking on doors.
I'm like, I don't know you. I think I passed you in the grocery store. Like, did I offend you? I was an asshole for a long time. And I still kind of am. So I'm sorry.
That's what's funny about coaching is people who knew you before, they're like, I know you. I know what you're about. I don't trust you. So it's interesting when you are coaching and you talk to people who didn't know you in the past and you tell them about your past. It's like, what? No way. Yeah, way. This was me. This is how I used to operate. I was a machine. I was this. I had no feelings. And here they're watching me on calls and I'm crying left and right. Don't say my name because I start crying. And that wasn't me for the longest time. I was this hard shell. I wasn't going to cry because I couldn't break. I had a transformation in an hour I had to be at. I had to produce blah, blah, blah. I had to lead a team of 14 people, whatever it was. I didn't have a moment where I could be weak. And so I hardened myself to be this badass. Very much so still a badass. I just am allowing myself to feel.
Yeah.
And before I never did. So it's just funny how you expose yourself from what you used to be to the people who currently know you and didn't know you then. And they are like, wait a minute. I don't see Mark flying off the handlebars. Oh, over sliced bread. Yes, it would happen. So I say that.
I like my bread a certain way, so don't even know that bread thing. Don't piss me off right here on air.
Dirty shoes. Don't you dare come at me with dirty shoes. Anyways, no, the lesson in all of this is learn to communicate, but not just like this cliche, communicate. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and completely honest and exposed. Otherwise, what you're communicating, your words don't hold any power.
And you have to come from a place of alignment with what you know you want to communicate the right message. Bree has always came at me with the heart of Jesus and in alignment, not doing it out of anger, not doing it out of hatred. I would do it because I was a sarcastic asshole. I mean, it's truth. Yeah. I wasn't in alignment. I wasn't doing the things I needed to be doing. Mm-hmm. And when you do the things that you should be doing, and you communicate with your wife, you communicate with your husband, it's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Even if you are a little bit off track, you can bump it right back, or you can go, hey, that's not exactly where we need to go. Let's focus this way. It's the same thing with clients, same thing with your kids, same thing. As long as you are trying and you're putting forth the effort, you can say, hey, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing this. Yes. I was doing this with the right intent. I'm sorry if it came off that way. And it's way better to do that. And you don't have to worry about what people say or what they might think, or if you're lying, but if you come with the right intent and if you're in alignment with what you know you should be doing. So, yeah. You feel better You're going to cry some more?
No, I'm not going to cry. I'm going to lead my next call with power, and then I might cry at the end.
Cry at the end.
That's
But you
okay.
look good.
I know.
I don't think you need a facelift. If you think she's a facelift, comment below. And if you
I do.
drop some money in a Venmo for us or a PayPal, because it's going to cost some money. So I was looking at pictures. I actually look better now than I did back then.
You do. You age like wine, honey.
My hair wasn't as good. My hair right now is pretty good.
It is pretty good, yeah.
But I got a new barber because I stopped going to Bree. She stopped cutting my hair about 5-6 years ago.
I never wanted to do it in the first place. I know. Mark was just too cheap to pay to have it done, so I had to do it. I tried to mess it up on purpose, and he still kept coming back.
Yeah.
But not anymore.
Not anymore. I'm done with that.
So, yeah.
So, if you guys are on YouTube, please give us a like, leave a comment. If you are listening on any podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, give us a 4-star like and 5-star.
Or a 4. Where'd you get 4-star?
4-star, you're like a 4-star athlete. So like you're a 4-tool athlete.
Okay, whatever.
So 5-star.
Let's do it.
Yeah, do a 4-star or 5-star?
No, a 5-star. Okay.
Do a 5-star and bump us up for we look better. So
All right, that's it. Bye, guys.